Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Ohm Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. And now, let's experience New Thought Philadelphia.
I'm going to tell you a story. Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. She took a midnight train going anywhere. And if that story sounds familiar, it's the opening line from Don't Stop Believing, which was the mega hit by Journey that has been around since 1981. And it is a very powerful, it's a power ballad, and it's a very powerful message, Don't Stop Believing. And there is a meaning and a connotation about Don't Stop Believing. You really feel the passion in that. And the connotation and meaning are a little different because don't stop believing is telling you what not to do. And so we get to make a choice instead of not to stop believing, but to make sure that we continue believing. And keep on believing doesn't sound as powerful as don't stop believing, but it actually is a little bit more powerful. And I'll explain why. First of all, the question is, what do you believe? What do you believe? If you want to know what you believe, look at your life. Because your life is an expression of your beliefs. The saying, and it's in Scripture, and it shows up again and again and again in all sorts of different religions and spiritualities, is it is done unto you as you believe. It is done as we believe. As we believe, so it is. And so if you want to know what you believe, look at what you're creating in your life, or what has been created in your life. Because that's what you believe. And if you love what's showing up in your life, then keep on believing that. Don't stop believing. Keep on believing. And if you don't like what's showing up in your life, then there's perhaps a little bit of an invitation that perhaps you want to adjust what that belief is. And sometimes what we're believing is not necessarily clear. Sometimes we think we believe one thing and different stuff is showing up in our lives and we don't know what's going on. But that's when there's a disconnect between what we're desiring and what we're experiencing, there's an indicator that there is some hidden belief in there. There's something, some piece buried down there below our conscious awareness. Something that crept in either from an experience that we had in childhood, something that somebody offhandedly said, something that our families have always believed and they just pass it down to us, or that our entire culture or the human race has believed for a long time, and we get to continue living in that because we buy into the belief. And that's okay. You keep on believing until you decide that you want to do something different. In which case you don't stop believing. You start believing something new. Because this universe does not know not. We can't pray for something that we want to have not happen. You know, the classic example is, I'm going to tell you to not think of a pink elephant. Do not, under any circumstances now, think of an elephant colored pink, the color of Pepto-Bismol. So, and one of those large elephants like you see at the Philadelphia Zoo. So this is a multi-ton elephant, completely pink. Do not think of that. And of course, you can't not think of that. I'm prompting you, even as you're resisting that, you can't stop thinking about that. I was in the direct marketing business for quite a number of years, and one of our key products was personalized postcards, promotional postcards. And my sales partner used to say that the magic of a postcard is while you're deciding not to read it, you read it. Because we knew back in the days when people got a lot of junk mail that they would sort the junk mail over the trash can. and the envelope that comes in from, the same insurance company trying to sell me something again, envelope doesn't get open, toss in the trash, and we were sending out postcards, which said right there, before you could decide that you weren't going to read it, in order to know that you weren't going to read it, you had to read it. So the universe don't know not. And if you position yourself so that you're looking for a yes, then you're going to be in a very powerful position. Back to the song. She took a midnight train going anywhere. Well, if you take a midnight train going anywhere, it sounds so free and so uplifting and so liberating. And it wasn't just the girl. The rest of the line is a city boy, born and raised in South Detroit, because it rhymes with boy, sort of. He took the midnight train going anywhere. So anybody can do this. Anybody can take a midnight train going anywhere. And the important thing is, where do you want to get off that midnight train? It's going anywhere, so you can go anywhere. But if you don't decide where you want to go, where you want to get off, then you're going to have to be happy with wherever it ends up. And most of us are not willing to do that. Most of us have an idea of the experience we want to have. Most of us want to be a choice. We want to exercise that choice. We want to take the agency that we have in creating our lives and have a belief about something that we want to be experiencing, maybe a whole catalog of things we want to be experiencing, and let our life move in that direction. Because you're not going to stop believing, you're going to keep on believing, and your life is going to keep on showing up whatever it is that you're believing in, as long as you continue believing in it. The universe don't know not. So as I was getting ready for this talk, somebody shared a post on social media, and I read the post, and it's called Story Man, and it was a touching story. And at the beginning of it is, my name's Dylan, I'm 36, I'm the voiceover of 200 children's audiobooks, and last week I found out I'm the closest thing to a parent some kids have ever known. And it's a touching story about this guy contacted through his agent from the shelter that works with foster children. The person there saying, we have 40 kids in our facility, ages 3 to 16. Most come from severe abuse or neglect. We play audiobooks every night, at bedtime, during quiet time. Your voice specifically, they request you. We have kids who won't sleep without hearing the Story Man. Kids who've learned to read by following along with your audiobooks. Kids whose first positive adult male voice was yours. And it's a wonderful, uplifting story. It brought a tear to my eye about the transformational power that just being what you are and doing what you do can do. My favorite Daniel Namot song is the last song, where it says, is the world a little bit brighter, oceans and skies a little more blue, because you're here. What's my legacy? What do I want to leave behind? And this struck that same chord for me. And then, being me, I fact-checked it, because the guy dropped the names of a couple of books, like Goodnight Moon and The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And the guy who was mentioned, Dylan, was not the narrator of any of those books. And I chased the thread back up the line and found the website. And every one of those stories starts with, my name is blank, I am age blank. And then it's a touching, heart-wrenching story. And the story is still wonderful. The story is wonderful. Does it matter that it's not true? There's that wonderful line in The Invitation by Uriah Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't matter if what you're telling me is true. That's the difference between meaning and connotation. So on the one hand, this is a touching story that reminds me of the transformational power of being present and doing what we're doing, and doing it intentionally, and allowing the good to flow forth from that, even if we don't know that it's happening. That part of the story is absolutely real and very true, and still touches my heart. And the fact that somebody is using artificial intelligence to write a bunch of stories and put them on social media posts, and I started doing some checking about why this is happening, and it is very likely that the idea is to create lots of links and clicks so that they can monetize the fact that these stories exist, which is really crass and manipulative, and still a great story. And I'm going to keep believing in the power of the story, even if the actual story was a load of nonsense. And what's the story that you want to believe? Does it matter whether it's true? Does it have to be true yet? Is it something that you need to be able to look at and fact check and prove? Or is it okay for something to exist in your heart, for you to know it to be true, and take steps to move towards that truth? Don't stop believing. Keep on believing. There's a lyric in the song, some will win, some will lose, some are born to sing the blues. Not everything you're going to do is going to be happy. There will be challenges. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple of friends this week who have gone through massive challenges. One is dealing with dementia and has had to take a huge step back from his life. Very sad. And he's dealing with it. And I can't fix any of that. But what I could do is talk to him and love him and remind him that he's loved and offer to be of whatever support I can be for him. And it may or may not change anything. But the experience can be one of resistance and struggle and anger and frustration. And it can also be one of acceptance and, okay, I'm going to do something next. What's that going to be? And make that be as happy and as uplifting and as positive as it can possibly be. Another friend of mine, finally, after years and years and years, reconnected with an old friend, somebody who she'd known for years and years and years and years, and it turns out that they were the love of each other's lives. And they'd been avoiding it and resisting it and not noticing it. And they got together, and they've been together for a relatively short time, and combined their households and combined their lives and made plans for living the rest of their lives together. And 2 weeks ago, he had a massive heart attack and died. It's like, that's not supposed to happen. That's not supposed to happen. And I can't fix that. There's nothing I can do to fix that. So what I told her about, and she's another New Thought minister, so she knows all of this stuff, but knowing it in your head and experiencing it are two completely different things. And I reminded her of the term that we use a lot, which is the spiritual term sucketh, because the situation that she is in absolutely sucketh. This is not an experience that anybody would choose. This is not where she wanted to be headed. It absolutely sucks. No fun, no how, no way. And I also pointed out to her that life tends to work in a series of 3-act plays. There's the dramatic arc. In the first act, you get to meet all the characters, and there's lots of optimism. Okay, Luke Skywalker, finds out about the princess. He's going to go save the princess. In the second act, the Death Star is going to destroy everything, and the people are going to be killed, and all is lost. And that's where she is now. She is absolutely in the second act. There's no question. It sucketh. And what happens in the third act is there's a resolution, and something pays off out of all of the stuff that's happened up until now. We do not know what the third act is going to look like while we're in the second act. And it doesn't make the second act suck any less. But something is happening next. And it's not about don't stop believing, it's about keep believing. Is it possible for this to get better? And sometimes in the depths of our despair, it's like, I don't see how that could possibly happen. And the question then becomes one of spiritual nature. Because we know that there is one creative power, one infinite intelligence, one love that is sharing itself as all of its creation. There is one infinite power that has been creating since the very beginning of time, and it continues to create in everything that exists everywhere. When I'm into alliteration, I say every person, every particle, every planet, everything is that one divine presence taking its own particular form. Is it possible for that infinite power to create a new experience that's as good as we can imagine and even better? Is it possible? Well, gee, Bill, when you phrase it that way, sure, it's possible. And then your monkey mind goes back to saying how unlikely it is and how you're not going to be able to do it. And sometimes the word that comes up is inconceivable. Inconceivable! That was a great line from Vizzini in The Princess Bride. It was the actor was Wallace Shawn. Inconceivable! Because there were things that he couldn't possibly imagine happening. And in the very short part of the movie that he was in, all sorts of inconceivable things happened, including he got outsmarted and wound up drinking the poison. Inconceivable! And tipped right over. So before you say that something's inconceivable, you might want to change that. Instead of "it's not possible" to "I don't know how that could possibly happen." Make a little space. Put a little distance between what you believe and what could be possible. Leave a little space there. What could you believe? What is possible to believe? And you don't have to have the belief about how things are going to work, or the specifics about, which particular schedule the details are going to be on, or which players are going to show up playing which particular part, or any of that. What we get to do is, when we're talking about getting on that midnight train, we want to know what we want to feel like. What's the experience we want to have when we get off of that train? Where do we want to be going with that? And open up to that possibility. Because it's the feeling, the connotation, much more than the definition, that matters for us. As I mentioned, the song Don't Stop Believing, Journey came out with that in the early 80s, in 1981. And it was a top 10 hit when it was first released. And then it kind of kept going along because it's a power ballad and it's got that "Don't Stop Believing," and lots of people have liked using it, and all sorts of sports teams use it as their seventh inning stretch or their championship song or whatever. It had a huge boost in the early 2000s when it was in the finale episode of The Sopranos. It bounced back again. In 2009, it was the number 65 single for the entire year. And this is a song that's been around since the early 1980s. Digital downloads were happening in 2012. It became the number one digital download and still is the number one distributed song ever. 18 times platinum, 18 million downloads this song has had. And it keeps on going and going and going. And, this, the band's name is Journey. What a kind of a reminder is that of where we're headed and where we're going and what our midnight train is. So, as they say at the end of the song, hold on to that. Don't stop believing, hold on to that feeling. Hold on to that feeling. What is the feeling that you want to have? Set your intention, open to that. Set your belief on that. Suspend disbelief. You don't need to buy in 110% that, yes, this is what's going to happen. But stop pushing it away. Say, if you find yourself saying, inconceivable, this is not possible, you're wrong. Let go of that grip just a little bit. Open up, allow a little bit of space and see what happens. And see if that magic shows up in a more magnificent and immediate way than you would have ever thought possible. Because that's what's going on. Hold on to that feeling. You deserve it. And so it is.